The night air of Ashwood Manor was fragrant with the scent of blooming jasmine and roses, heavy and intoxicating in the moonlight. Isabella Marlowe walked quietly along the stone path of the garden, her fingers brushing over petals glistening with dew. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not at this hour. Yet something had drawn her beyond the mansion's walls, into the embrace of the night, a letter, folded neatly, with a scent of lavender still lingering in the folds. Meet me where the garden sleeps, under the moonlight. I will wait. Her heart had thumped wildly when she read those words, a rhythm that refused to settle, as if her soul itself recognized a truth she had long ignored. Alexander Hawthorne, the name alone brought a warmth that she could no longer suppress. They had known each other for years, moving in the polite circles of Ashwood society, exchanging greetings, polite smiles, and occasional small talk. But the letter spoke of something different, something deeper, and she could not resist it. A soft rustle among the hedges made her pause, but her fear was replaced immediately by recognition. Alexander stepped into the moonlight, tall and poised, yet his eyes held an unfamiliar softness, a vulnerability meant only for her. Isabella, he said, his voice low and deliberate, carrying an intimacy that stole her breath. I came, she stammered, her fingers clenching her coat. I wasn't sure if you'd really be here. I always am, he replied, stepping closer, the soft rustle of his coat blending with the whispering night. For you, always. Her chest swelled as their hands finally met, fingers entwining in a hesitant dance before settling with certainty. The world beyond the garden seemed to vanish. The moonlight, the scent of jasmine, and the steady rhythm of two hearts entwined were all that existed. They walked through the garden in silence, letting the night guide them. Words were unnecessary, their shared glances and soft smiles spoke more eloquently than any conversation could. Alexander paused at the fountain at the garden's center, its waters catching the moonlight like fragments of stars. Do you remember the first time we came here? He asked, a playful edge in his voice. She smiled softly, a memory flooding back. Yes, when I nearly fell into the fountain because of your terrible jokes. He laughed, a warm, low sound that wrapped around her like a soft blanket. I thought, maybe, this is where I wanted to spend every moment with you, from that day forward. Isabella's heart clenched. She had felt the same longing, though she had buried it under years of propriety and hesitation. There was something about him, about this moment, that made it impossible to deny the truth between them. They sat together on the fountain's edge, letting their feet dangle just above the cool water. The garden seemed to close in around them, protecting this fragile, intimate world. Alexander turned to her fully, his gaze unwavering and full of earnestness. I've wanted to tell you for so long, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I love you, Isabella. I have since the day we met, but I was too afraid, too foolish, to admit it. Her chest tightened. Alexander, He raised a hand to gently cup her cheek, his thumb brushing lightly across her skin. Shish, you don't have to say anything. Just feel it. And she did. Every heartbeat, every breath, every unspoken word echoed with the truth she had denied for far too long. Their lips met, softly at first, exploring, tentative, then with increasing certainty as if making up for the years of silence. The garden seemed to lean closer, the moonlight shimmering brighter, casting a silver glow that sanctified their moment. Hours passed unnoticed. They shared stories and dreams, laughter and confessions. Alexander revealed that he had always admired her independence, her courage, the way she made the world around her brighter. Isabella admitted she had often watched him from afar, wondering if he felt the same pull, the same longing she could no longer suppress. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, and Isabella shivered. Alexander immediately draped his coat over her shoulders, their fingers still intertwined. You're cold, he murmured. I'll keep you warm. I think I've been warm all along, she whispered, leaning against him. The garden seemed to hold its breath as their conversation dwindled, replaced by a comfortable silence. They had known each other for years, yet tonight felt like discovering someone entirely new. Every glance, every touch, every shared smile was a revelation. I wish this night could last forever, Isabella said softly, resting her head against his shoulder. Maybe it can, Alexander replied, tilting her chin gently so she would look at him. Maybe it's the start of something that will last beyond the night, beyond everything else. Their lips met again, slower this time, savoring the moment. Isabella felt the world melt away. The mansion, the expectations, the society rules, they no longer mattered. All that existed was this garden, this moonlight, and the steady warmth of Alexander's hand in hers. Suddenly, a soft chirp of a nightingale echoed, pulling them out of their private world. Alexander laughed quietly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. Even the birds are celebrating us, he said. Or mocking us, Isabella teased, smiling up at him. Mocking us would imply this isn't real, he said, his eyes glinting in the moonlight. And I promise you, Isabella, it's as real as the moon, as the stars, as this garden. They walked again, fingers intertwined, sharing stories of childhood dreams, travels they longed to take, and the kind of life they imagined if they dared to follow their hearts. Isabella felt a liberation she hadn't known she needed, the freedom to express love without fear, without hesitation. As the first light of dawn crept across the horizon, bathing the garden in soft gold, Alexander stopped. I don't want to let go, he admitted, his voice heavy with sincerity. Nor I, Isabella said, leaning into him. But we have to face the day. Then let's promise something, he said, taking both her hands in his. No matter what the world demands, no matter the obstacles, we'll find our way back to this, back to each other. Always, always, she echoed, sealing the promise with a lingering kiss, soft but filled with certainty. They left the garden hand in hand, carrying the memory of Moonlight and Jasmine, laughter and whispered confessions, back into the waking world. And in the quiet of Ashwood Manor, the garden remained, a witness to the birth of a love that was patient, brave, and enduring. Weeks passed, and their connection deepened. Every stolen glance at family dinners, every hand brushed in passing, carried the weight of what they had shared. Yet, neither spoke of the garden, fearing to diminish its magic. And yet, in their hearts, they both knew, love, once kindled, could not be hidden. One evening, under a sky full of stars, Alexander led Isabella back to the garden. This time, he carried a small velvet box. Kneeling beside the fountain, surrounded by the flowers that had borne witness to their first true connection, he opened it to reveal a delicate ring that caught the starlight. Isabella Marlowe, he said, voice unwavering, will you be mine, not just tonight, not just in secret, but in every moment of every day that follows? Will you marry me? Tears glimmered in Isabella's eyes, and laughter bubbled up from her chest, full of joy and disbelief. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling. 1,000 times, yes. Alexander rose, slipping the ring onto her finger, and they embraced beneath the stars, the night around them silent but alive with magic. For in that garden, under the eternal gaze of the moon, their love had found its home, a love that would endure, grow, and flourish, untouched by time or circumstance. From that night forward, the garden became their sanctuary, a place of memories, whispers, and kisses. Every secret meeting, every heartfelt confession, every shared dream was anchored there, a testament to the love that had bloomed like the roses under the moonlight, bold, resilient, and eternal. And so, Isabella and Alexander began a life woven together by trust, passion, and the unspoken promise that no matter what storms came their way, they would always return to each other. Always to the garden, always to the moonlight, always to love.